Hello! Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of NetCLIX and Chill. This is episode number 3, and this is going to be more of the example of the chill part of NetCLIX and Chill. We're not going to be talking about Heroclix. What are we talking about, Dan?
We are going to talk about Warhammer 40k and the American Team Championship that I just came back from.
Also known as ATC. It's a big gaming event. Yes, so we don't only play Heroclix, we also play several other games, and we want this to be a platform where we can talk about all of them when something of interest arises. And for anybody who doesn't know, a new version of 40k just came out, and ATC was supporting those rules. This is the 8th edition of the Warhammer 40k rulebook.
Yes, and that made it a very chaotic championship this year, because we literally had a month to prepare all brand new lists, get an FAQ, play the game, learn how the new game worked. So it was very chaotic, and it took a lot to figure out and play on a high level of competition. But we did. Our team overall, we went 3-3. We finished 25th out of 58 teams. There were teams of 5, so there's 290 people playing this game. I personally went 5-1 and finished 14th overall, which was pretty good out of 290 people. So I'll give you a rundown on the list I was playing. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to miss some stuff. But I was playing Imperial Guard with Blood Angels allies, and I had a little bit of Sisters of Battle in there too. I had three detachments. I had the Supreme Command, which gave me Celestine, Saint Celestine, who's just amazing. I also had Primaris Psyker and Commissary Yarick were my 3 required HQ choices. My super heavy was the Shadow Sword, Stormlord, not the Shadow Sword. It's a different version of the Baneblade chassis. And then I had 3 Taurox Primes with the Gatling Cannon and the autocannons. Then I had a just standard battalion. It had 2 company commanders, 2 units of 20 conscripts, a unit of 10 guardsmen, and then 2 storm ravens. I don't remember what the rest of my list was. I think actually it might have just been those 2 formations. I'd have to check.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pause it real fast. Okay, we're pausing.
It's paused.
Okay. I got the list here. Celestine Yarick, Stormlord, 3 Tauroxes, Psyker, 2 Storm Ravens, 2 Company Commanders, Conflict. Okay, that was it. Alright, so that was the entire list. It is 7 command points, which are a new thing added to 8th edition, and it was 1,999 points. So, real fast, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown on 8th edition. It functions similar to 7th in that you have a movement phase, psychic phase, shooting phase, but now instead of having just one close combat phase, you have a charge phase, and then you have the melee phase, and then you have a battle shock phase. So there's actually 6 phases to the game now instead of 3 before. The reason that matters is you get command points, which you can use once per phase. And the most common one is you use 1 command point to reroll a single die. So that was just a new thing, kind of getting used to in 8th edition. I didn't know how important command points would be. I had 7 in the list, which I felt was low. You can get a lot more. But I actually usually had them left over by the end of the game. But I mostly just used them to reroll the damage on a las cannon. When Celestine would be KO'd the first time each game, you can roll a d6 on a 2+. She can come back and be placed anywhere on the battlefield. So I just saved command points to keep her alive. So she was really the MVP for the event. So I'll give you a quick rundown on the 6 games that I played, how I did, and kind of my impressions. So game 1 I played against, I think, Salamanders in a drop pod spam list. They had Meltaguns, and then he had some, not Sisters of Battle, but the other Sisters chapter. There's actually 2 now. But they're just hiding in the background. They're anti-psyker.
They're actually good now? Because I remember the sisters were apparently garbage.
They still haven't gotten any new models. They're still metal, but they're like playable if you have the $1,000 to build the army. But no, they're all right. They're better than other armies out there, so you can't complain too much.
Yeah.
But what this guy's list really was built around, it was an alpha strike where he just drops in, picks up enough stuff off the table that you can't retaliate against him, and then he just kind of goes from there. Unfortunately for him, I was kind of prepared for it. I have the conscripts as bubble wrap, so he can't get any of my good stuff. And I put him out far enough to where his drop pods couldn't get close enough to put his guys in Melta range to roll 2 dice for damage instead of 1. So he was really inconsistent on the damage he could deal. Ended up bringing my Stormlord down to 14 wounds, which that's another new thing, is now your like super heavies, your monstrous creatures, they scale down in effectiveness the more wounds that they take. The Stormlord, when he goes below 14 wounds, when he has 13 wounds less or less, he gets weaker. The guy got him to 14 wounds, so I was still at full strength. Because of that, his Alpha Strike didn't work, and I was able to table him by like turn 5, and I got full points, 20 points. Which I found to kind of be a theme. Game 2, I don't even remember what the army I fought against was. I think it was Chaos. That's what it was. It was a bunch of Khorne Berserkers, the Khorne Lord of Skulls, which is an intimidating piece, but just not durable enough for how many points he is, and a couple Rhinos or Razorbacks with some guns on top. His list was also similar, and we were playing... No, Relic was first round. So this round, honestly, the missions didn't matter that much at ATC, because one thing about 8th edition is it's table or be tabled, and then grab objectives at the end. So pretty much the entire tournament we followed that trend. One thing I will say, instead of talking about myself personally, I'll talk about the team aspect of ATC a little bit as well. The goal is you have 5 players to a team, and you need to win 3 games to win the round. So what our strategy was going into it was we can have one person just take a bad matchup, get it off the table, and give our opponents a win. But because of that, the goal is to get at least 2 easy wins off of the matchups. So then we have 2 games left where we just need one person to win. And with that strategy, we actually executed it almost perfectly. One teammate went 6-0, I went 5-1. Then kind of the guy who ended up being our hinge, when he won, we won the round. When he lost, we lost the round. He went 3-3. Our overall record was 3-3. So our strategy worked perfectly. It did exactly what we had intended. But unfortunately, we were just 1 or 2 die rolls away from finishing 4-2, 5-1, somewhere in there. So that team aspect makes it just another layer of difficulty in an already very competitive tournament. But back to my game 2, it kind of went similar. The guy charged in with a bunch of Khorne Berserkers, killed most of my conscripts. I was able to retaliate, and just Celestine went in there and she'd kill a unit of Berserkers per turn. And he had like 5 units. So by herself, I think she killed 3 or 4 units of Berserkers before the game was over. The Tauroxes wiped out some. My Stormlord just killed a Lord of Skulls in 2 turns, and my 2 Storm Ravens, they actually were amazing as well. Celestine and Storm Ravens are probably my MVPs. I used all the guard stuff to distract them and tie them up, but really it was those 3 flying around that won me the game. Won me really all of my games. Round 3, that one kind of left a bad taste in my mouth because my opponent cheated pretty bad. I usually try to be trusting. It's a new game, new edition, new rules. I don't know your book very well. So he was playing 6 Doomsday Arcs, 9 Canoptech Wraiths, and some other stuff per his list. He actually put a 10th Wraith on the table that wasn't part of his list, so he's playing with more than 2,000 points. He also lied about the toughness of the Doomsday Arcs. He said they were toughness 7 with a 3-up save. The reason that matters is my Stormlord's primary gun is strength 6, and it has -2 to your armor save. The Doomsday Arc's actual profile is toughness 6, 4-up save. So it went from me wounding him on 4s with him having a 6-up save against it to me wounding him on 5s and he has a 5-up save. So he doubles the amount of saves that he makes while simultaneously reducing my wound percentage by 16.5, 17%. That adds up very quickly, and that was the difference between the win and the loss. Unfortunately, I didn't catch it until after the game was over, and we had left the venue for the day. That was round 3, so we couldn't do anything other than give the judge a heads up and say, hey, this guy's been cheating. You might want to watch him, make sure he doesn't do it again. Which he didn't, because their team went 3-0 day 1, and then they lost 2 and tied 1 day 2, because they were using him as an anchor to take the hardest matchup, and he can't win them anymore, so they were losing their rounds because he couldn't win the game, because those are kind of big changes. And the other thing he cheated on too is the guns on those Doomsday Arcs, if you move, they go down to 24-inch range, strength 8, d3 damage, instead of having a 72-inch range, strength 10, d6 damage. Kind of a big difference when I'm playing a super heavy myself. But it is what it is. That's part of the game and part of the competition, is you need to not just know your own stuff, you need to know your opponent's stuff, make sure you double check it. So it's my fault for being naive and not making him prove it. But again, that one left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, and I still almost won. Like, with all that stacked against me, with him playing over points, with stats that don't exist, I still was 1 wound away from taking out 2 Doomsday Arcs and winning the game. So I was really happy with how my list performed. I still got 6 points, so it wasn't a total loss. Out of 20 total, I got 6, so I mitigated the loss as much as I could, but that was my team's first round that we lost because of it. So we went into day 2, we were 2-1, and we got paired against a team that finished, I think, 5th overall, and that was a really close game. I actually beat the guy I was paired against. He was playing Tyranids, and he had 108 Gene Stealers. And they were using the Gene Stealers Cult Ambush, and that was intimidating. So basically the way it works is his turn 1, he only has a little bit of stuff on the board. So I fly up with my Storm Ravens, try to kill what's there, don't do a whole lot, whatever. His turn, he brings all the Gene Stealers on. For every 6, he gets to be like an inch away from me and just charge. Every 5, he gets to advance and then charge. 4 or less, he's 9 inches away. Those weren't as intimidating. I got really lucky. He only rolled 1 6 and 1 5. So he had 1 that was getting a guaranteed charge and 1 that needed a 5-inch charge after everything was said and done. He rolled a 3, a 2, and a 1 with the unit that was 5 inches away. He used a command point to reroll that 1, got another 1. So he wasn't able to charge. But I still got to Overwatch, and I killed like 2 or 3 Gene Stealers. So I came out positive on his turn. The other unit, they charged in, killed a unit of conscripts, whatever, I don't care. Because then on my turn, he's got everything so close that I'm able to first rank fire, second rank fire with all the conscripts, which means I get 80 shots. They're hitting on 5s, they're wounding on 5s, but 80 shots, I'm going to kill some Gene Stealers. And then I was able to do enough damage. I think I killed over 60 of his Gene Stealers on that turn, and I cleared out most of his back line with the Storm Ravens. The next turn, he was able to just charge more conscripts, more guard, killed all of them, so I was down to just vehicles. But then I killed the rest of his Gene Stealers and his Brood Lords, and I ended up tabling him turn 5 as well. But it was a lot closer than it could have been. And then round 4, that was round 4. Round 5, I think I played 3 Chaos players, so this had to have been another Chaos matchup. I don't remember a lot about this game. I do know that I tabled him because I have my scorecard that showed that I tabled him, but I can't remember what he was playing. Because at this point, I've been playing Warhammer for 14, 15 hours. I'm going on 4 hours of sleep. I drove 12 hours to Tennessee, and I had quite a bit to drink the night before. So it's pretty exhausted. I don't remember Game 5. And to the opponent I played there, if you're somehow watching this, I apologize. Game 6, I went against pretty much the exact same list I fought Game 2, the Khorne Berserkers, the Lord of Skulls. This one had a Helldrake, which ended up mattering because it killed one of my Storm Ravens. And that one, it went the same way. I actually did a little bit of a gambit with the objectives. We placed them all on one table edge that I knew he would pick, but he's playing a melee army. So he either has to leave the objectives to come towards me and try to table me, or he has to stay back on the objectives and I just hope he survives. Which I liked that gamble because so far I've tabled 4 of my 5 opponents, so I'm very okay with gambling on me tabling him. He took that route too. He sent 1 unit in to try to tie me up. When that unit just kind of evaporated, he realized that wasn't going to work, so he just dropped back to hold objectives. But I was able to do enough to where I tabled him as well. So I went 5-1. I got all full points in 4 games, 19 points in 1, and then 6 points in the other. I finished with 105 out of 120 total points. So that was a lot of fun. It was a great event. And actually, I've only now played 10 games of 8th edition. 6 of them were at ATC. The other 4, I played 2 with the Chaos list, and then 2 with my Guard list. So, that I will use to transition into talking about 8th edition itself, and how it's more of it's a very simple game now, actually. Again, I played 4 games, and I was comfortable enough with the rules to go play in a national tournament and win 5 out of my 6 games. So if you've played tabletop before, don't be intimidated by 8th edition. It's really easy to get into.
I actually thought it was kind of weird that ATC happened basically right after the 8th edition rules were put out and they were going by 8th edition, because it would, I'm sure, change a lot of players' lists that they were bringing, because your 7th edition list is not going to be the same as your 8th edition, even if you choose to play the same army. And the rules are new for everyone. So at least everybody's on the same playing field, but I would imagine that the competitive level would be a lot lower because nobody has practice playing with the rules, and probably not much practice playing with the army that they're playing. So
yeah, and that had a huge impact on the tournament as well. There were a lot of judges called over for rules clarifications. That happened on multiple tables. Another thing, normally you have to have your army fully painted. What you see is what you get, everything. This year they lifted those restrictions. If you have the models, play them, because with the changes to the rules, there was a major scramble to even figure out what lists were competitive, let alone get them built, painted, everything in less than a month. So that definitely had an impact. There were a lot of rules questions. Fortunately, I have a solid group of probably 10 guys who are, their Warhammer's their primary game. So they were all pouring through the rules, pouring through the rule book. We had a really good understanding of the game going into it. I don't think anyone on my team lost a rules argument the entire tournament. So we went 6 rounds with 5 players. That means we played against 30 other players, and not one of them was correct on a ruling, or was able to, you know what I'm trying to say. Our group was already so well versed in the rules that we were able to play per the rules and not have any ruling go against us through 30 games. And I think we did well because of it. Again, we only went 3-3. We were very close to going 4-2, maybe even 5-1, just 1 or 2 die rolls away from it. But the new rules did have obviously a major impact on the lists we saw. Where before you'd see Death Stars, you'd see Psychic Stars, you'd see kind of not a whole lot of units. You'd have just a couple really efficient units on the board. Now MSU is king. Multiple small units dominates. The best demon list right now runs like 120 Brimstone Horrors in units of 10, with a blue horror in each unit. But one list I wasn't prepared for were the Razorwing Flocks with the Dark Reapers for Yannari. Basically, it was a bunch of units of 1 or 2 Razorwing Flocks, and they would just die to let the Dark Reapers shoot again and again and again and again and again. Fortunately, I didn't have to fight against that because that sounds really annoying. But 8th edition lists are pretty much all about spam. 6 Storm Ravens was a common sight. 9 Hemlock Wraith Fighters for Eldar, that was a thing. Again, 120 Brimstone Horrors with 5 or 6 Demon Princes and the Changeling. Just a lot of the lists that were winning were just spamming 2 or 3 units, but there's like 200 models on the table. So that was kind of the what I saw list-wise and how those couple games I played went. Do you have any questions or anything about 8th edition that you might be curious about? I know you haven't really played yet.
Yeah.
So.
No, I haven't played any. I actually tried to get into the game once they changed it. I've had a few armies in the course of Warhammer 40k, and ended up dropping them out or getting some later and switching it up during 7th. But during 8th, whenever it first came out, I bought a bunch of Space Marines, and I haven't actually played a full-fledged game of 8th yet. I have played a little bit of Armageddon, which is their Games Workshop sanctioned kill team, where you have like a group of 8 or 10 soldiers, and they operate independently instead of this giant battle scaled game.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit less tedious than 120 Brimstone Horrors.
Yeah, very true. What do you think of the new rules and how they apply to the game? You said they were more simple, but is there anything specific that you feel like makes it good or bad?
Yeah, I'd say overall the rules changes were good. There are a couple things I don't like. The biggest one being if a hero has, and it's all keyword based now, if a model with the hero keyword has, I think, 9 wounds or less, you cannot target them with a shooting attack unless they're the closest model. Okay, it seems thematic, seems really cool. That's great until you fight against someone who has 100 zombies. You kill 99 of them. You have a Stormlord left who can shoot like 80 shots. There's 1 zombie and 6 demon princes. Because that zombie is closer, all 80 shots from the Stormlord have to go into killing that zombie. You can't even look at the demon princes. That to me is kind of dumb. Because if I have this like massive superior tank, there's 1 zombie and 6 like 16-foot tall demon princes, and I'm the commander of that tank. I'm not going to tell my crew to shoot the 1 zombie. I'm going to tell them to take down the giant monsters
and shoot it 80 times.
Yeah, like las cannons, put them into that zombie. Heavy bolters, zombie. I mean, we could just kill it with the stubbers, but no, don't worry about that. Put the Vulcan Mega Bolter into this zombie because it's closer than that demon prince. Like,
yeah,
that to me is just the dumbest rule. And then I hear people countering it's better than having a commander with like a storm shield sitting there absorbing shots for like 6 rounds of combat. I get that. But I'd rather deal with a dude just bouncing it off of his chest being like a freaking BA dude. I'd rather have that than like 1 zombie just mindlessly wandering around not even knowing what's going on, and I have to put 80 shots into him because, hey, he's closer than that demon prince.
And I think that the other way made more sense. So like a lot of the time whenever somebody's like, oh, rules, blah, 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 I think that the designer of the game needs to remember, like, in this scenario, what makes the most amount of sense, and then make that work as a part of their game. If nonsense is what you have to fall onto, you need to rework your game because your rules are wrong somewhere. Because something like that where it's like, it literally makes no sense. You're taking options away from the player. You, by default, have ruled that the player has to play like a moron. Like, you are not going to prioritize that character whenever it's just a little zombie standing in front of, the leader of the army. I don't know, because a lot of my strategy in most of the games I play, it's like the cut the head off the snake thing, where it's like this guy is the one who's providing the buffs, they're the ones controlling, pulling the strings, basically. You can't basically have a sniper that kills the leader of the army that has some good special ability if it literally says you have to attack the closest target. That is so stupid. Like, it is so dumb.
And what they did too is they're like, oh, this is a really good mechanic. Let's make it so snipers can target these characters. So like Necron's death marks, if you bring an assassin, but like Chaos, they don't have snipers. Tau, their snipers are drones that hit on 5s or something like that. Like the Imperium, yeah, they have snipers for days. They can deal with opposing characters. But like Guilliman, literally, he's a monstrous creature for a Space Marine. He gives out army-wide buffs that are amazing. And if you're fighting other Imperials, sure, they can try to kill him with a sniper. He's got a 3-up invul, so it's not going to work anyway because you only get 1 shot with these sniper rifles. But any non-Imperium army, they don't even have snipers, and if they do, like, they're not worth it. I think Eldar might have snipers that are okay, but like, you just can't deal with these characters. And Guilliman, again, is just, he's amazing. He's probably one of the best models in the game. Celestine, I was able to abuse her because I had the Storm Ravens that they fly up. She can move 24 inches, so I fly 2 Storm Ravens up 30 inches, fly her up 24. The Storm Ravens are still closer. You can't do anything about her. Why? There's 2 giant things flying in the sky that aren't even close to her, but I gotta shoot those because I can't see her. It just, that ruling to me is just really aggravating. And because of it, the demon spam list with 6 demon princes and the changeling and 120 brimstones, it works because you can't kill the changeling, you can't kill the demon princes, you have to kill these 2 point per model brimstone horrors. It's such a bad rule.
Yeah.
But I don't want to focus on just bad. There's a lot of good.
Oh, one more thing though.
Yes.
While we're in the bad sector of things, we have a player in the main group that plays Tau, and he's really upset because a lot of objectives in this game now have to do with kill points, right?
Oh.
Where it's like the number of models that you kill or the number of units that you kill.
Yeah, it's the number of units you kill. And what they did is they made it to where you have to take drones with certain units, like ghost kills. And the drones, they enter with the ghost kill, and then they split off as their own separate unit.
So basically, Tau now have a lot of vulnerability because drones are going to die. But now every time they purchase a unit, like a ghost kill, they are obligated to basically place 2 units, and then, oh, I'm just going to target these drones, and you're giving your opponent victory points. And at the end of the game, you could have destroyed that guy, but he'll win because he killed more units, because he took out the drones that were previously expendable in 7th, where it's like you still take the same drones. Well, they might be easy to kill, but now it gives the opponent so much of an advantage because they're killing units. So they, by default, made Tau a lot more difficult to play. I don't know how viable they are right now.
They're not.
Yeah, and that's probably why. Because you're just giving all of your points to the opponent just by fielding your army.
Yeah, Tau got beat over the head with a Nerf bat. Like, it wasn't even gentle. Games Workshop did very dirty things to them. Tau have always had bad ballistic skill, but they've mitigated that with marker lights. Now marker lights, like, you have to have like 6 marker lights on a unit to give 1 Tau unit plus 1 ballistic skill. It's not very efficient. Their cool shenanigan is I can dump wounds off to these drones. Yeah, that's great, except drones are a separate unit, so just target the drones and kill them, and they're super easy to kill. And now the guys that are kind of hard to kill that would normally dump the wounds back, now they're just vulnerable anyway. So you kill the drones and the Tau fall. Our Tau player, when he got good matchups, he would table his opponent, but there were like two or three armies that we could comfortably put him against. Other than that, he just had to take the fall. He'd jump on the grenade, take the hardest list, try not to lose 20 points, try to get whatever points he could, but Tau just, they're in a bad spot. They are not very good right now. But to move on to some good points, they did simplify the way strength versus toughness works, ballistic skill works, weapon skill, all that. And armor is not nearly as good as it used to be. Which it's very similar to Age of Sigmar now. So you have a ballistic skill that straight up tells you what you need to roll to hit now. Like Celestine, she has ballistic skill of a 2+. So if you roll anything but a 1 on a die, you hit. Same with weapon skill. Versus before, if you had a ballistic skill, you'd have to like subtract the number from 7, and it got complicated. And then if you got over ballistic skill 6, it was... So they simplified that, which was nice. Strength versus toughness now is also a lot simpler. If your strength is equal to the toughness, you wound on 4s. If your strength is higher than the toughness, you wound on 3s. If your strength is double the toughness, you wound on 2s. 1s always fail. The inverse is also true. If your strength is lower than the toughness, you wound on 5s. If the toughness is double your strength, you wound on 6s. So because they simplified it quite a bit, it makes it a lot easier to keep track of. You don't have to think as much as you're rolling dice. You're rolling 200 dice in a shooting phase. It's a lot easier now than rolling 200 dice before. So I like that they streamlined that. A change I personally don't like, but a lot of people do, is the psychic phase. They boiled it way down. It's a lot simpler now. Psychic powers usually won't make or break a game. The smite spam lists can do it, but you roll 2 dice, and then if you beat the difficulty, the power goes off. If your opponent has a psyker within 24 inches, they roll higher than you, they turn it off. So they simplified it a lot. I personally don't like it because I was playing demons before, and demons are like the psychic army. So losing an entire phase basically for me, now all I can do is smite a bunch. Like, to me, it's kind of lame, but it sped the game up a lot. All my games went to turn 5 or later. In 7th edition, I'd be lucky to make it to turn 4. So that's overall a good change. Personally, I don't like it, but it is what it is. Combat works actually different now too. There's no longer an initiative. When an army charges, all the units that charge attack first. Then your opponent can swing back. If you have a unit locked in combat, after all charges are done, the active player picks their first unit and that unit attacks, and then the defending player gets to pick another unit and attack back. So on the turn when everyone charges, it doesn't matter. But turn 2, like if I charged 5 units and all 5 are still locked in combat, on my opponent's turn, they pick the first unit to fight, but then I get to pick a unit to fight back. So they might have 2 characters locked in combat with 2 units of like Gene Stealers or something. They use that one character to kill my Gene Stealers. Then I get to pick, and I'll pick the other Gene Stealers and try to kill his character before it ever gets to attack. So I like that added depth of strategy in the assault phase. And overall, melee feels a little bit better in 8th edition than it did in 7th. So I would say there's probably more positive changes than negative. There's not nearly as much spam. You're not dealing with Death Stars. But the flip side is that Psychic Phase is kind of lame, and the stupid character rule is just, I hate it. So.
But one place I think where the character rule does make sense is in that kill team game, Armageddon. And it looks like whenever they reset to 8th, they kind of moved some of those rules over into Armageddon, and since it is a smaller scale game, it actually makes more sense. So it is very similar in that you have to target the closest character, but it is the closest character who is also the easiest to hit. So if you've got 2 characters and one is farther than the other, but the closer one has taken cover and the farther one is not, and you've got a sniper who has, you know, a modifier where he's got better chance of hitting the one in the rear, you can choose to target either the closest guy because he's closer, or the farther guy because he's easier to hit. So it is closest guy who is easiest to hit, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Because in a small squad-based battle where you've got troops that are independently moving and running through the streets and trying to cross the streets without getting shot in a firing lane or something like that, it makes a lot more sense to be like, hey, that is our commander that's trying to come up to the front line, and I need to distract the firing lane so that he can get here safely. So you've got somebody in the rear who is having to come out of cover to run to another location or something, and you're like, to prevent him from being shot next turn, I'm going to run a grunt out into the street to basically like wave his arms, be like, hey, shoot me. And I think that actually adds strategy. So the other guy needs to work around that, but it's not the same scenario as a tiny little zombie sitting in front of a giant demon prince.
Six of them.
Yeah, so
that game there were 6 demon princes and 1 zombie,
and couldn't shoot any of them, because this actually gives you a little bit of difference in the equipment that you take. So you say, I've got a guy who's got, you know, thermal goggles or something. He can see through certain types of terrain that would normally give them a bonus or something. You'd be like, I'm going to equip this so that I have a better chance to target who I want to target, because this guy is going to be easier to target than this guy, even though he's farther, and all that kind of stuff. That's the type of stuff that you count on and prioritize, and it just makes more sense in that scenario. It just doesn't really make much sense in the other, as far as I understand.
Yeah.
And
a large-scale battle, I understand there's like the chaos of battle and stuff, but like even in medieval times, the standard bearer, the drummer, they would always die first because they're the ones giving out the signals. So anyone with range would target them. That's real life. That's how you do it. So not being able to translate that into this game where, hey, that's the signal caller, he's the one giving out all the buffs, we need to kill him first, like, that's real life strategy, but now it's no longer a strategy you can do in this game.
Which is really weird.
But the second that they're above 10 wounds, they're just, hey, kill him all day long. So, like, it makes, like, Be'lakor has 8 wounds and Magnus has 16. Magnus costs 500 points or more compared to Bellacor's 200 something. Bellacor's way better. And it's not because of any other reason other than I can shoot and kill Magnus. I can't even think about shooting Be'lakor. And, like...
Because you just bubble wrap him.
And it just shoehorns so many strategies. And, like, you'll never see Magnus on the table anymore, Kairos, not in competitive play at least, because they're so easy to kill. It's like the Corn Lord of Skulls, I was saying it earlier, super intimidating. It's got 28 wounds, but I can just target it and kill it, versus like Celestine, who has 8 wounds and she's 150 points versus almost 800 points. Take Celestine all day long because you can't shoot her. You can take the Corn Lord of Skulls off the table turn 1.
Yeah, so I've played a few games of Armageddon though, and as far as a review of that game, I think it's great. And I love kill team things like that where it's like a role-playing game almost, where you're playing one game and it adds to what happens in the next game. You get more troops, you get more equipment, each character becomes their own character, so you can be like, you can give each guy specific grenades based on the number of points that you have available. You can be like, oh, I'm going to give my commander extra 2 points to give him a grenade. And that could also change how your sculpts work, because you can get little bits of equipment and glue it on there. And I just love the fact that this giant battle-sized game has now moved into small tactical squads, and the models that Games Workshop makes, which are great, are able to have more individual personality, and I really like that.
And that's a heck of a lot cheaper.
Yes. Yeah, for somebody who's wanting to start and is like, hey, I want to start with Space Marines, you don't have to go out and buy a $1,000 army. You could literally buy a package of Tactical Marines and you're good to go to play that game. The rulebook's $40 and Tactical Marine box is about $40 as well. A starter kit that comes with 2 sets, so if 2 players want to start the game, it comes with one rulebook, is like 100 or 120, and it comes with terrain too. So that's a pretty great deal.
Yeah.
And I think that is a good change that's happening with Games Workshop. I hate Games Workshop. I think that they suck. Their prices are horrible. They don't care about their rules because their rules suck most of the time. But I think that their new CEO, he's been around for about a year or 2 now.
And he doesn't suck.
He's doing a good job. They're on the web store, there was never a good deal. It was literally like, okay, you can buy a $150 model, or if you get 3 of them together, it will be $450. It's literally
deal.
Not $1 off. It's like, why is this a package? Why did you even bother making an extra page and name for this stupid deal that literally doesn't save you $1? Since the new guy has come in, they have started to do all those get started packs where it's a really great deal for usually about $85. You get like $140 worth of stuff. You'd never seen anything like that before. And Warhammer Fantasy, which a lot of people were sad that it's dead now. I'm so glad it's dead now. Warhammer Fantasy was the worst game I have ever played, ever. And I have played games like freaking Crossmasters. Like,
Fantasy was pretty great.
Fantasy was garbage.
It was dated. The game's been around since the 80s.
If Games Workshop came out today, it would not have a following with any of its marketing. It came out, 25 years ago. People have been playing it because it was the first thing around. That's the only reason anybody plays Games Workshop games. But I feel like they're coming back. Age of Sigmar, I really like.
Yeah, I will say when they killed Fantasy and dropped Sigmar, it sucked. There's no way to balance it. No points. They're like,
garbage.
Just be friends and play friendly stuff. Well, guess what? People play competitively, and people are dicks. So like, they were figuring out ways to be a dick on the table. Yeah. So the new CEO, he saw, hey, people are complaining about this. Let's get our design team to develop the General's Handbook, give things points values, make it more balanced. There's still like armies that dominate, armies that do really well, but they balanced the game, and Sigmar became really good because of it. And 40K, I think they're going down the right path. I personally loved 7th edition. I thought it was great. I know a lot of people didn't. It wasn't a very popular edition. I really liked it. But I feel like 8th edition has a lot of potential. They have a lot of things they need to iron out. And with Forge World releasing all their new books, it's going to get really crazy. And we've got a lot of codexes planned for the next year. So for the next year, 40K is going to be just crazy. But once the dust settles and we can get feedback back to Games Workshop, this new CEO, I think that they'll be able to look into the game and rebalance it. And I think 8th edition ultimately will be like Sigmar is and be very good for the game, good for the hobby, and have a lot of beautiful models. But right now it's just very tumultuous, and it's not balanced yet. But I think it can be, and it has potential to be balanced pretty easily.
Yeah. And just because this is, our podcast, a platform to talk about games, I'm going to get a little bit off topic here, only because I want to make sure that people understand my view of game design companies. So, yes, I don't like Games Workshop. I think they're getting better. And last week, I had said that I hate NECA, and that stands. I think that NECA is worse than Games Workshop, because at least Games Workshop takes a little bit of time to come out with their things, so it could be argued they put a little bit of thought behind it. NECA doesn't put thought behind crap. Like, they literally just paste colors onto a dial and then just shoot it out every 2 months. And it's getting to the point where they use the same sculpts repeatedly and just repaint them. And sometimes those repaints don't even make sense. Yeah.
We had 3 Supermen in the last set.
Same sculpt.
Same paint job.
And it was shifting focus, so it makes sense because you swap them on the table. But, 6 sets ago, shifting focus Superman got a different sculpt for each focus. And now they're lazy, and they don't playtest anything before they launch it. And then they're like, oh, well, we'll just clean it up with the errata mop afterward. And then they barely even get to the stuff that's important with the errata mop. They just, so stupid. But there are companies that I do like. And that would be
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I thought you hated all of them.
Nope. Corvus Belli does a great job. I'm probably not pronouncing it right because it's a French company, I think.
That's Infinity, right?
Infinity. And that game is fantastic. Rules are fantastic. Models are fantastic. I love metal stuff. Their prices are great. Their support is awesome.
That game's garbage.
In my opinion, they're the best miniature gaming company around at the moment. I also like what Fantasy Flight produces. I know that they just kind of get games from other places and then publish them, so they're more of a publishing company. But games like X-Wing, super balanced, super well made, and then you see NECA that just kind of hobbles into the field with Star Trek Attack Wing. I love Star Trek, I like it more than Star Wars, so I actually bought both games, and I have since sold my Star Wars X-Wing stuff just because there's no one around here playing it, and there's no one around here playing Star Trek either. Our local Coliseum actually liquidated all their stock, and there's no more around. But I love the models so much because I love Star Trek that I'm keeping them. The 2 games next to each other operate the exact same way. The ships in Star Trek Attack Wing are so unbalanced and stupid. The game it's the same mechanics, and you can see the glaringly obvious lack of playtesting.
Well, they had to nerf an entire faction, the Borg. Just nerfed
because it was your competitive scene. It was just oh look, Borg as far as the eye can see, and it was obvious why. Anybody who played the game, Borg was the cheese. It didn't even matter what you were playing; it was Borg.
But that was one you called the nerf perfectly.
Yes,
that was pretty great.
Yeah, whenever we came in, I was the only thing they need to do to change the Borg. And if anybody play this game, you've got shooting radiuses, so you've got distances of 1, 2, and 3. And it shows how far your weapons are effective at. And the Borg are allowed to shoot at a 360-degree radius up to a 3 range whenever we first started playing, and that's ridiculous. You couldn't outmaneuver. If you could shoot the Borg could shoot you. It didn't matter where they were.
And they usually shot better. It's not just they can shoot you because you can shoot them. They can shoot you and do more damage.
And they have a bunch of shields, and they have a bunch of hull, and their shields come back. And it makes sense because they're the Borg.
Yeah, but
resistance is futile.
So definitely very, very accurate to the TV show. holy crap, you couldn't do anything about
It
it.
was ridiculous. So I was like, well, the only thing that they need to do is restrict the board faction-wide. If they have a 360-degree firing arc, it needs to be restricted to range 2. They can't shoot in range 3 band because you need to be able to outmaneuver them somehow.
That way you can sit on the back burner 3 spaces away. If you predict their movement right, then you can stay out of their range.
Well,
it's not easy to do.
Only one turn anyway, because most ships have a 90-degree firing arc on their front, the front of their hull. So they'll turn toward them, get that shot on their 3, and then nobody really has the ability to do a sharp turn and keep shooting. So they get one surprise shot, and then the Borg grid moves towards them, and then they're within 2 anyway. So you get one turn where you get the jump on the Borg, even with this rule. But it makes it to where
could matter.
Right, and it makes it to where the Borg aren't just so overwhelmingly destructive. Like, if you can see the Borg, they can kill you, and that was just stupid. So...
Yeah.
But yeah, even with that change though, the game's not balanced. The game's they have the problem where they just want to pump out figures continuously, and other companies actually like think about their production before they just throw it out on a line somewhere. It's just a money scoop for them, and they bought WizKids, and now they're just throwing out a bunch of stuff under their name. They didn't have any experience. They probably didn't have a design team when they first got it. So you can understand it's almost like a fledgling company, but their whole approach at game production is just it's a money-grubbing, sad attempt at a competitive game that used to be really good. So I don't know.
Were there any other games we want to mention? See if we get interest. If y'all have any games, put it in the comments what you want us to talk about. We'll talk about it. Jimmy's very critical of like everything, so you'll get a good range of views, I'd say.
Yeah. Other games that we play that we'll be talking about: Age of Sigmar, which I really like, so I'm not going to be real negative about that game.
Yeah, just Games Workshop. You hate them, but you love their game.
I like that game, and I think they did a good job. I think compared to Fantasy, Age of Sigmar is fantastic. And then you've also got Skirmish, which is a
kill team version.
Yeah, it's like a
Sigmar.
DLC. It was like an $8 20-page rule book that adds a little bit of campaign play for about 10 models, which again is really cheap to start, which is great. And then we've got Infinity, which I'll definitely talk about.
That's him.
I like Infinity.
I don't play that game at all. I don't like it.
Yeah. I like it. It's pretty great.
Then
the thing is, the games that I love are small scale. You like the big army games. I like the whenever you've got like 5 troops, you could name them, and they're your men, and you are guiding them through the difficulties of battle. And Infinity is the perfect platform for that because you have so many options. Your character could be like, instead of just moving and being like, hey, I'm just gonna move over here and then I'll shoot you, and then next turn you'll try to respond and shoot me. In this game, it all feels very alive because it's like, I'm going to run past this gap. There's a door and your guy's in here protecting an objective. If I run past, you can shoot me. But if I move within my first movement distance, I can declare a careful movement so I can make sure he's not looking when I run across, or to like tumble so he can't even respond. Like, those are the types of things where it's just like, there are so many options. It makes each character feel so useful, like powerful.
But you've got like a 400-page rule book, and none of it matters because at the end of the game, like, this literally happened. I saw a dude just like take actions and run all the way to the objective and just smack the button. Like, and he won like 3 die rolls, so it didn't matter. So the 400-page rule book and all the stuff that all of Jimmy's characters can do, none of it mattered because one dude just ran up and smacked the freaking button and won the game.
Yeah, in the last turn. And the guy had literally been laying on a rooftop. He had been mechanically deployed on a rooftop earlier in the game, and he was prone, so I couldn't shoot him unless I got on top of the roof, which I couldn't because he was right in front of the ladder, and I would have just gotten shot from his side of the field. So I had to leave him there, and then at the very end of the game, he got up, ran around the corner. I shot a few times, missed all of them, and then he ran to the button, hit it, and it was an objective where that changed the game. It ended up...
He won by 1 point.
And then in the tournament, that was the first tournament I'd ever played. I actually was only just starting to play the game, and we tied for top. We literally tied in points for winner of the tournament. So that was pretty great. We were getting super off topic.
That's fine. tabletop discussion. This is the chill part.
True.
We're not doing the meta Netflix.
Just talking about everything, I guess. Yeah. So
maybe people like it, maybe they don't. Whatever.
True.
I mean, they might tell us.
Yeah, but I like Infinity. If you play it, I'll be doing a thing on it later, probably without Dan since he hates it. But
it was almost really cool until I saw that guy just go Rambo. Like, nothing mattered at that point.
I also rolled real bad, and I should have anticipated it and tried to work against it before. Like, put a mine in front of him or something. I don't know. But I play the Merovingian Rapid Response Force, so they're the French sectorial of Ariadne, and I love them. Even though they're supposed... If there is a weak army in Infinity, they're it. But I have not seen that in our local venue because I feel like they do real well. So, pretty cool.
Do we have any other games we play? We'll probably end up playing Attack Wing and
I love Attack
X-Wing.
Wing.
We'll probably end up playing those again. So
it just gets stale when you don't have a group to play with because you're just sparring with each other.
Yeah.
So, but it's been so long, we could definitely get back into that. I literally own most of the Federation. Up to the point where we stopped, I owned every single ship in the Federation, and I think
also all the Borg.
Yeah,
ships that were available.
Yeah, we own at least one of every Borg. We have 2 spheres, and the main thing was 2 spheres and a mega cube. And then we've got like 5 or 6 Klingon ships, 3 Dominion ships, a bunch of independent.
And the Vulcans were also really good. They had a great Alpha Strike, right?
There was only one Vulcan ship.
No, it wasn't. Was it the Romulans?
Yeah, Romulans.
The Romulans.
Yeah, and that was cool. We had a bunch of Romulans. Yeah. We have a little bit of everything that was out at the time, and Mirror Universe. We own literally every Mirror Universe ship, and I made an awesome Alpha Strike list with that, where it was pretty great.
And I got a buddy. I don't know if he sold them yet, but if not, I could get probably like an entire X-wing like set. I might be able to trade him for it actually, because I have the.
That would be awesome.
I have the Iron Jaws. I could trade the Iron Jaws straight across and just get an entire X-wing.
If you can do it. I love that game. I sold it because I was getting a Vive. We own the Vive here. Yeah. And I was...
selling
I regret it every once in a while.
Because X-Wing... I like Star Wars over Star Trek. So, to me, X-Wing is cooler, and it's apparently more balanced.
Way more balanced. Yeah.
So,
But the thing is, if you want to play competitively, you're going to play either a team of TIE Fighters, or you're going to play a team of X-Wings.
I mean, those are my 2 favorite ships, so I don't see a downside here.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if we wanted to get into it competitively, there's not really much purpose in collecting a wide variety of things. You literally buy either 8 TIE Fighters or 4 X-Wings, and that's your competitive list.
I'm already 4th with Renegades in the nation in 40K. I just placed 14 out of 290 at ATC. Eventually, I'm going to win a state championship in Heroclix. I might as well find a casual game.
True. But yeah, I owned everything from that game because I traded in a bunch of freaking Heroclix at Cool Stuff Inc. and just bought literally everything they had in stock because it was hundreds of dollars worth of trade-in. Yeah. And then I ended up selling it, but I had gotten my Millennium Falcon Lando Calrissian card signed by Billy D, and
the dude he sold it to didn't even care.
He didn't care. I should have just kept it. I should have just been like, you could take the ship. I'm keeping the card. But yeah, I got it signed by him, and I sold it. And he was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." Shoved it back in the box. Friggin' dick.
So whoever you are, a random person that bought Jimmy's X-Wing stuff,
give it back.
Screw you.
Yeah, that's the only thing I regret about selling all that X-Wing stuff. Well, honestly, I think it would be great to have been able to play the game, but still, even all this time later, there's still nowhere to play.
Yeah.
So
and the vibe is pretty awesome.
Yeah, nobody plays X-Wing here.
Well, the Tabletop Glory is going. They stock it. They have 1 or 2 people interested. So
we have 3 places that stock it around here, but nobody who ever plays it. You have to travel about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours to be able to play it anywhere in Florida.
So we'll see. Maybe that becomes a thing. Maybe not. Who knows? We're all about tabletop games, so whatever.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. Well, do you want to wrap up? Any other games you want to talk about? Crossmasters, we could talk about the little pictures you have up there. I actually almost bought into that at PAX West last year, but Katie looked at me and she's like, "We're flying. That stuff's not coming back with us."
Yeah.
And it hurt my heart because they're like 60% off or something. Like
that should show you how they sell. There's literally so Crossmasters, great game. Hold on.
Yeah, grab one of those figures.
Let's grab my favorite figure.
You didn't even grab the coolest guy.
The favorite figure is this guy. He's a little, evil hawk dude from the villains pack. So, my history with this game, I found it online because I was like, hey, I want a tabletop game to play with an online platform where I could also play it physically. And this has physical figures, but every figure you buy is going to have a code, and that code translates into an online platform. So you can play it all the time. But there is nowhere to play here in the physical form because it is a game from Europe. And it pretty much has like a huge following over there, but not in the United States, or at least not in Florida. So,
and online, it's just not very satisfying to play. Like, it's kind of clunky controls for online.
It's restricted because it is a game that is based on a square grid, and you don't have any...
There's no diagonal movement, is there?
No diagonal movement or diagonal shooting. Everything's based on direct lines of fire. If you want to go diagonal one space, you have to go up and then over. So if you have terrain in the way, you can't do that. So the game is... It's a simpler level. But it's cool.
It's neat. I like the pieces. The pieces are kind of cool.
And it's very toony. It's definitely got an independent feel from the other things that we play.
Yeah, it's a lot different than Games Workshop product.
Yeah. Whenever I got into it and bought about $250 worth of stuff while they were having a sale on Miniature Wargaming or MiniatureMarket.com. I got into it, and 2 days later I got an email that was like, sale. And I was like, perfect timing. So even with the sale, I spent $250 out of pocket. Probably got about like $500 worth of stuff.
Yeah. And the sad thing is they're actually like factory painted better than Heroclix.
Yeah,
and it's
for
an
sure.
Independent like little company.
And I played it for a few weeks online. Of course, never played a physical game of it. But I couldn't get any of my friends into it. So
I tried.
So I stopped because I'm a person who needs companionship.
Yes.
In a game.
You do. I do too. But I did try. But that's one game the wife shot down, and she doesn't do that often. I mean, I've had like every Warhammer army except for Imperial, because I don't play dirty Imperial stuff. Yeah, but I think when you
spend so much money on a game like that, somebody from the outside is like, you spend so much money on a game like that. You need to focus on that game and not spend $250 on Crossmasters.
Yeah.
So it makes sense from a rational perspective. From a gamer's perspective.
And we were also playing Pathfinder heavy, and I think I had spent like $200 on Pathfinder books.
Great.
I love that game. Well, we might end up doing some... recording some Pathfinder, might live stream it.
That'd be cool.
I would be down. We both played the Dungeon Master. We'll alternate. So that's always fun.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going on a bunch of tangents here.
Yep, all the tangents.
All right, so let's wrap up before we go on another tangent.
Okay.
So that's kind of our rough plan. You can expect to see Pathfinder. You can expect to see even Crossmasters. Who knows? Attack Wing, X-Wing. Heroclix, Sigmar, Kill Team, more 40k.
A little bit of skirmish.
Some skirmish, some Shadow War, Armageddon. So we got lots of things we can talk about. Lots of things we'll be playing. Again, if you want to leave a comment, tell us what you're interested in. Tell us what you play. We'll talk about it. We got an Infinity Army. Yeah. Oh, we even have what's the one with all the mechs that you got on Kickstarter?
Oh, Cav. It's something assault vehicles.
So we even have Cav. If that's something you guys are interested in, we'll sit down and learn how to play it. We'll do a tutorial.
I have a stupid amount of figures. I got the Kickstarter for the Bones launch. And for the $100 pack, I got like hundreds of dollars worth of figures, apparently.
Yeah, which you did build them, right? You ended up building some at least, but they've never been played.
Bones are horrible. And, okay, so...
It's like Finecast, but worse.
Reaper Miniatures, I love you. Your prices are great. If you can buy something in store and you can inspect it first, go for it all day, because they make great Dungeons and Dragons figures and all that kind of stuff.
And awesome terrain. I like some of their wargaming terrain for Infinity. The dumpsters and the shipping containers, great.
Yeah.
However,
these things, Bones sucks. And it's great, it's cheaper, so kudos to you. But if you can't inspect the model first, don't buy it. Don't buy that crap online or anything, because you get these things and they are like warped and misshapen. It's like I've got a gun that's bent backwards, like it just came out of
myself in the face.
It just came back from like a Looney Tunes episode or something. And people, of course, have ways to fix it. Boil the figure and straighten it out and all that kind of crap.
Shock it with cold water.
Right. But whenever you paint it and you prime it and you paint it and everything, like if that figure bends, you're gonna start losing paint and it's gonna crease and it's gonna look horrible. I just hate it. So if you get something that's real thick, maybe like a real thick stocky character that's made out of that plastic, it's not going to bend as much because it's so thick. Or if you just desperate, do it, I guess. But
it's same like early Games Workshop Fine Cast. Just don't.
Whenever I got that Cav stuff, I was super excited, and then it came in the mail, and I was like, it would take me hours just to fix this garbage. So that's why I haven't played it yet. Because the figures that I got are horrible quality, but
we'll do it for you if you're interested.
Yeah, we'll learn it, maybe even paint a few, and then play a game.
Yep.
Review it, I guess.
At least one, probably no more than one, but at least one game.
But the interesting part about Cav, this is the last rant, I swear.
Last tangent, and then for real, we'll wrap up.
Yeah. So it was originally produced by one company. And then the miniatures were made, I guess, and supported by Reaper Miniatures through the Bones program. And then the game was bought by a fan. So originally, whenever I got it, during the first Kickstarter launch, it had the rules and stuff online for the first edition. And then the new edition was for sale in a hardbound book. Now, after it's been bought by someone else, they've done another set of Kickstarter launches with more figures that are being printed in Bones, because originally they were all metal, and they were like $30 a piece because they're big robots made out of metal. And now they're running about $6 a piece, so that's the great part about Bones, but, other than the material and the figure sucking.
Yeah, I mean, you're saving $24 a model, which is huge.
But I would rather metal if I could get my hands on it, but I also wouldn't want to spend $38 per model when the game probably runs like 12 or so models.
So the price point is great. If you're in it purely for the aesthetic and purely for the hobby part, try to get the old metal.
Yeah, but I don't know what the new producer has done with it. So a fan bought it. They took off all of the free material offline, which makes sense for somebody who just bought an asset and they're trying to make money off of it. They don't want people to just go online and get the rulebooks, so they want them to buy their stuff. But that, to me, made it seem a little less friendly. So, if somebody's already providing the rulebook and stuff online, and then it's like, oh, I just bought it, so I'm going to take that away. And then I just be like, oh, that sucks. Like, that feels a little dickish to me. But fortunately, I had already downloaded the rulebook, so...
Whatever.
So I have it, so we'll play with that, I guess. But I don't know if they've changed since then, so... Yeah.
All right, but now, as we promised, we will end the episode. Tell us what you think in the comments. Feel free to be mean. I'm used to being the heel. Jimmy, he's sensitive, but I'm here to cuddle with him, so it'll be okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you once again for watching this episode of NetCLIX and Chill. We hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.